The most effective thing is for people to understand that the way things are not the way things have to be.
So it's like disaster after disaster, and I started asking people like, how does this make sense? When have you seen this many disasters in this short amount of time? When have disasters been this major? And people were saying climate change. They were like, oh yeah, that's climate change, it's climate change.
LNG stands for liquefied natural gas, which is essentially methane. There's nothing natural about it. It is fracked gas that comes from underground. There is a huge build out being planned across the Gulf South right now. Over 20 LNG export terminals are in various phases of being planned and or constructed.
Methane is an extremely dangerous gas, and LNG is a fancy way for billionaires to package this as some sort of product that people don't understand.
It's being touted as like a clean alternative to burning oil and gas, and we know that's not true. It's 80 times more warming than carbon dioxide.
LNG is not some new thing that's coming in and is going to help. By having a puppet show with music where people can be creative and express themselves and learn and be part of a fun performance, it's an entry point.
New Orleans had the hottest summer on record last year, so it's incredibly arrogant, greedy, overconfident for oil and gas executives to come down to New Orleans, the epicenter of oil and gas build out in the country, to continue to plan how to extract fossil fuels from this part of the country.
The way I feel about the Energy Summit of the Americas taking place here in New Orleans is a bit conflicted because I'm excited to be able to yell at these creeps.
How dare you, all of you, show up here today in New Orleans, in a critical region, to sit here and promote false solutions that are further polluting the planet. It is despicable. You should all be ashamed of yourselves.
We want to make sure that they know that we don't want them here. So that's a lot of what we're doing with the puppet show.
How do you feel, Erin?
Yeah.
Nervous, but ready.
The storyline behind this puppet show is two characters that are frontline organizers in Southwest Louisiana, Roishetta Ozane and James Hiatt, who've been working tirelessly over the last few decades to really bring awareness to what this looks like in their communities. So we're telling their stories of how they came into organizing and how they really met each other and became friends and have been able to amplify this message.
Well, the way I first got involved with doing community work and organizing is because I was married for 17 years and I was in a domestic abuse marriage and there wasn't resources for me. I was really trying to get out of the marriage, but as a Black woman with children, it was, just so many hurdles that I had to jump and cross over, trying to get housing for me and my children, trying to apply for Section 8 and food stamps, and it was just so many things, and I was just like, How are people navigating this system?
Our first hero is a force to be reckoned with. Roishetta Sibley Ozane grew up in Ruralville, Mississippi, home of civil rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer. And with that spirit, she was raised doing service and volunteering in her communities.
So I started working at the women's shelter, which is for domestic abuse victims, talking to other domestic abuse victims and domestic abuse survivors, and really trying to dismantle that system. But again, as I'm working in that system, understanding how everything is so intersectional, and how, you know, a woman who has a sick child because that child has asthma, it's even harder for that woman to leave because she needs the health care benefits from her abusive husband, and he's working at the facilities where he's bringing cancer-causing, asthma-causing particles on his clothes to that child. So, you know, the job that is providing the health care for the child is also the job that's causing the child to have the health condition.
Roishetta, knowing the struggle for clean air and water is tied to racism and poverty, forms the Vessel Project to get the people what they need.
Me fighting for my children and my grandbaby is me fighting for your children and your grandchildren and the world.
James Hiatt grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana, coming from a long line of laborers who worked the docks for oil refineries.
I mean, I had accepted that it was toxic. I never wanted to work in a plant. Growing up, my dad would come home, it smells bad, you know. They come home, my dad came home with this Nomex on, and had this terrible smell. And in places like Southwest Louisiana and other places where they have industrial build out, the way that you can maximize your time for money is to work in some facility that's extractive, where a profit margin is large, and they can afford to pay you enough to be comfortable and for you to accept that your life may be shortened because of your exposure.
And James, realizing that there is no greater value than a sustainable environment, founded For a Better Bayou to advocate for healthy jobs and policies that preserve the natural beauty of Southwest Louisiana.
Every single one of these facilities that already exist have inflicted undue burden and suffering on the communities that live there. And we know that because we see the cancer rates, the respiratory disease, cardiovascular disease is high in these fence-line communities. And if you learn that fracking causes children to be 2 to 3 times more likely to get leukemia, why in the world would we continue to allow fracking?
Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much to our esteemed investors and customers. We're so grateful to all of those who are choosing Vulture Global, a future for your liquefied natural gas needs. The needs of the future.
Venture Global specifically is operating in Southeast and Southwest Louisiana. They're getting massive tax breaks and making billions of dollars off of these facilities, not paying taxes back, exploiting people that way. The jobs promises that they have are temporary. They barely provide anyone work, and they come into communities that have been ravaged by the climate change that they're exacerbating and tell them, we're your only option.
You know, I always say joy is a strategy. You know, I think we have to incorporate some joy, some fun, some laughter, some culture. This is Louisiana, it's New Orleans. People come to New Orleans for a good time. What we're dealing with in the Gulf South is heavy. It is a lot. We're fighting every day. Sometimes it feels like we're not gonna win. But if we can put that together with some joy, with some culture, with some art, with storytelling, it makes it a little lighter for people. It makes people feel like there is something they can do.
Wherever you live, there is somebody fighting injustice. You can find that and you can plug in, because the source of all this injustice is this illusion of separateness that we have from each other, and the way that we can move forward and actually have a sustainable future that we can all believe in is to start valuing human dignity.
Down with fossil fuels! Down with fossil fuels!
crisis down.
Please get involved in whatever ways make you feel the most impactful and the most useful.
It's important to know that your unique life and your voice matters, and the way that you use your voice matters.
It's clear to me that those men don't care a fuzzy rat's ass about human life. We have to make these guys people that you would never associate with. And God, none of you should ever sleep with anybody like that. Let's have a pussy boycott of anybody associated with fossil fuels. We can sleep with the workers, it's not their fault. Really. But not the executives. Let's boycott them, okay? So you have my promise. I will not stop before I make sure that everybody that needs to knows about what's happening here. God bless you. I have such hope because of the people that I've spoken to. You are warriors. Stay strong. See you in Washington, D.C.